When we gaze at the night sky, most of what we see belongs to our own neighborhood, the stars of the Milky Way, the planets that orbit our sun, and the countless comets and asteroids that formed alongside our solar system billions of years ago. But every now and then, something different appears, something so unusual that it forces us to rethink what we thought we knew about the cosmos. That is exactly what happened with 3I/Atlas. This is not an ordinary comet or asteroid drifting around the sun, circling endlessly like a moth around a flame. This is a rare visitor, a traveler from another star system, a piece of material forged in a place we will likely never see with our own eyes. To even say those words, that a fragment of another star system has entered our skies, is breathtaking. It is like standing on the shore of an ocean and suddenly seeing a bottle wash up on the sand, not from your land, not from your people, but from an entirely different continent across the sea. That bottle carries a message, a story, a whisper of a place far away. 3I/Atlas is exactly that kind of message, a cosmic bottle floating across the endless galactic ocean. To understand why 3I/Atlas matters, you must first appreciate how unlikely such an encounter truly is. The distances between stars are staggering beyond imagination. Light itself, traveling at 300 kilometers per second, takes over 4 years to reach us from the nearest star, Proxima Centauri. The empty space between stars is not like the space between planets. It is far wider, darker, lonelier. For an object like a comet to escape the gravitational embrace of its home star system and wander across interstellar space requires an extraordinary event. Perhaps a close encounter with a giant planet flung it outward with enough energy to escape. Perhaps the violent birth or death of stars nearby shook its orbit free. Whatever the case, 3I/Atlas did not drift into the void by accident. It was cast out, set adrift on a journey that may have taken millions, perhaps even billions, of years before crossing paths with us. Just think about that. While Earth was forming its first continents, while early life was struggling to take shape in our oceans, this little icy wanderer may have already been on its way, slowly crossing the gulfs between stars, unnoticed, unsung, but destined to one day streak across our skies. That is why we call it rare. Before 2017, humanity had never seen such a thing. Then came the first 1I/Oumuamua. It was an elongated, tumbling object, unlike any comet or asteroid we had catalogued before. Some thought it was a rock, others thought it was a comet that had lost its tail, and some even speculated wildly about artificial origins, but whatever it was interstellar. 2 years later came 2I/Borisov, a comet more familiar in its behavior, with a bright tail, but again, its orbit betrayed its origins. It was not from here. And then in July of 2025 came 3I/Atlas, discovered by the Atlas telescope in Chile, the third messenger from the stars. 3 in less than a decade after never having seen one before. It is as though the universe suddenly decided to open a door and show us glimpses of worlds beyond. That sudden arrival of visitors is remarkable, but it is also humbling because it reminds us that the cosmos is far more connected, far more alive with movement than we ever dared imagine. Think about the odds. Our solar system is vast, yet compared to the endless void of the galaxy, it is a grain of sand on an infinite beach. For an object from another star system to come close enough for us to detect is a statistical miracle. Most interstellar wanderers will never be seen. They will drift quietly through the outer reaches, far from the sun, unnoticed in the darkness. But every so often, by chance, one takes a path that leads it into the inner solar system, where telescopes and human curiosity await. When that happens, we have only a short window of time to observe, to record, to capture data before it vanishes forever, never to return. These objects do not orbit our sun like loyal companions. Their paths are hyperbolic, open-ended, like a line cutting across a circle. They arrive, they curve gently around the sun, and then they head back out into the night, free, unbound, carrying their secrets with them. We are lucky, almost unimaginably lucky, to have caught sight of 3I/Atlas at all. What makes 3I/Atlas especially fascinating is that it carries with it the fingerprints of its home system. Comets are time capsules. In our own solar system, they are made of ice, dust, and rock, frozen remnants of the earliest days of planetary formation. When sunlight warms them, these ices vaporize, creating glowing comas and tails that shine across the night sky. But every star system has its own chemistry, its own conditions of birth. The ices that formed in our sun's nursery are not identical to those that formed around another star. So when an interstellar comet like 3I/Atlas comes into view, it is as if a messenger has brought us a sample, a piece of the building blocks of another world. Already, astronomers have discovered that 3I/Atlas has unusual chemistry rich in carbon dioxide compared to many comets we know. That single fact alone speaks volumes. It suggests that wherever this object formed, the balance of elements, the temperatures, the cosmic recipe, were different from our own. It is like tasting water from a river in another land and realizing it has minerals, flavors, and currents you have never known before. Now pause for a moment and think of what this means. For thousands of years, humanity has looked at the stars and wondered what lies beyond. Are there other worlds like ours? Are there other systems, other beginnings, other stories written in starlight? We built telescopes, we launched spacecraft, we dreamed of traveling beyond the sun. But before we ever left, the universe has sent emissaries to us. 3I/Atlas is not just an object. It is a story, a fragment of a world beyond imagination that has arrived at our doorstep. It is proof tangible and undeniable that the galaxy is not a place of isolated islands but of constant exchange, of travelers and wanderers that carry with them the whispers of distant suns. And when we detect them, we are given a chance to listen. That chance is fleeting. 3I/Atlas will not stay. It will not linger in our skies forever like Halley's Comet or Encke's Comet, bound to return in predictable cycles. Once it rounds the sun, it will continue outward, back into interstellar space, never to return. We have only months, a handful of opportunities, to study it before it fades beyond our instruments' reach. This urgency adds to its preciousness. It is like meeting a wise traveler who passes briefly through your village, telling you tales of distant lands before vanishing down the road, leaving only memories and questions behind. What it teaches us in this brief encounter will echo for years, maybe decades, shaping how we think about the galaxy we live in. And yet, beyond the science, beyond the data, beyond the charts and measurements, there is something deeply poetic about 3I/Atlas. It reminds us of how small we are, how brief our lives are compared to the journeys of these celestial wanderers. Imagine the patience of a comet that drifts for millions of years in the dark, only to pass by a tiny planet whose people, for the first time in history, have eyes sharp enough to see it. The comet does not know us, it does not come for us, but in its presence we feel a sense of connection to something greater. It is as if the universe itself is saying, you are not alone, you are part of something vast, something ancient, something that moves and breathes far beyond your little corner. That is the rare gift of 3I/Atlas. Not just knowledge, but perspective, not just data, but wonder. We call it rare, but perhaps it is not as rare as we once thought. Perhaps there are countless such wanderers drifting invisibly, waiting to be discovered. As our instruments improve, as our telescopes grow more powerful, we may find them more often. But even if the sky were full of them, each one would still carry its own story, its own fingerprint of a star we will never touch. Each one would still be a traveler, a visitor, a reminder that the galaxy is alive. And perhaps one day we will not only observe them, perhaps one day humanity will launch missions to intercept them, to capture them, to bring back to Earth samples of alien ices, alien dust, alien histories. Imagine holding in your hand a rock that was born around another star. Imagine touching the history of a system so far away that even light takes centuries to get there. That is the future that 3I/Atlas hints at, a future where the boundaries of our solar system are no longer barriers but doorways. Until then, all we can do is marvel. Marvel at the fact that in this brief moment of human history, when we have just begun to look outward with clarity, the universe has answered by sending us visitors. Marvel at the fact that out of all the centuries we could have been born, We live in the one where telescopes scan the skies every night and catch sight of wonders our ancestors never dreamed of. Marvel at the fact that against all odds, an icy fragment of another star system has come near enough for us to see, to measure, to wonder. 3. I/Atlas is not just a comet, it is a gift, a reminder that the universe is far larger, far richer, and far more generous than we ever imagined. And though it will soon be gone, its story will remain etched into our science, our memory, and our sense of awe. Because in the end, what is most extraordinary is not just that 3I/Atlas exists, but that we were here, alive, watching the skies, ready to notice when it passed. It is a rare visitor indeed, not because such objects never come, but because humanity is only just learning how to see. And in that seeing, we are changed forever. When we speak of orbits, we usually imagine the comforting repetition of cycles, the way the moon circles the earth circles the sun, and countless comets return faithfully every few decades or centuries, painting the night sky with predictable brilliance. We are used to a universe of returns, a cosmic clockwork where every gear turns endlessly, but 3I/Atlas is not part of that clockwork. Its path is not a circle or an ellipse. Its trajectory does not promise a return. It follows what astronomers call a hyperbolic orbit, a curve that tells us this traveler is not bound to the sun's gravity. It is not ours to keep, not ours to claim. It has entered our neighborhood as a guest, and like all true guests, it will eventually leave, vanishing back into the darkness between the stars. This uniqueness is not just mathematical, it is deeply symbolic. For in that one hyperbolic line lies the story of something larger than our solar system, the story of the galaxy itself, sending us a messenger that will not stay. To grasp the significance of this, we must remember how gravity works. Every object in the solar system, planets, moons, asteroids, and comets, exists because of the sun's pull. Even the most distant bodies in the Kuiper belt and Oort cloud are still faintly tied to our star. They may take thousands or millions of years to return, but return they eventually do, following ellipses carved by Newton's laws centuries ago. But a hyperbola is different. It is an open-ended curve. It is the trajectory of freedom. It is the fingerprint of an object that has enough velocity to escape the sun forever, and 3I/Atlas is following that path. No matter how much the sun bends its motion, no matter how close it comes at perihelion, it will not be caught. Its speed and trajectory mark it as a wanderer from elsewhere. That single fact, its orbit, was the first proof of its interstellar origin. The moment astronomers plotted its path and saw the hyperbola, they knew this is not ours. What does it mean to study something that will not stay? It means urgency. Every observation of 3I/Atlas is precious because there will be no second chance. Halley's Comet will return in 2061, offering future generations another glimpse. Inca's Comet returns every three years, a regular reminder, but 3I/Atlas is a once and forever visitor. After it swings around the sun in late 2025, it will recede into the outer reaches of space, fainter and fainter, until no telescope can follow it. Eventually, it will disappear completely into the blackness, continuing its endless journey through the galaxy. We will never see it again. It will become, like 1I/Oumuamua and 2I/Borisov before it, a story, a memory, a brief entry in the history of human discovery. That brevity makes it more meaningful. It sharpens our vision, sharpens our curiosity, and pushes us to gather as much knowledge as possible in the fleeting window it offers. There is something profoundly human about this. How often in life do we encounter moments that cannot be repeated? Encounters that exist only once, fleeting and unrepeatable, a sunrise on the day of your wedding, the first steps of a child, a farewell you know will be final. These moments burn brightly because they are unique. They carry weight precisely because they cannot be recreated. 3I/Atlas is like that, a cosmic moment that will not return. We cannot schedule its next appearance. We cannot wait for a second cycle. We must look now, learn now, wonder now, or the chance is gone forever. This transforms an icy comet into something more profound, a reminder of the value of the present, of seizing what is before us before it slips away into the void. But even as it passes briefly, its orbit tells us a deeper story. The hyperbola of 3I/Atlas is not just a mathematical curve, it is a signature of its origins. To reach such a path, it must have been flung free from its home star system long ago. Perhaps a giant planet acted like a slingshot, kicking it outward with enough force to break its bonds. Perhaps the birth of new stars nearby disturbed its orbit, ejecting it into the interstellar medium. Whatever the cause, its journey through space has been long, slow, and patient. Imagine drifting for millions of years, frozen and silent, carrying within your nucleus the ancient ices of a star system that may have formed before humanity even existed. And then, by a cosmic coincidence, passing near enough to our sun to glow, to shine, to be seen by the only creatures we know of who can ask questions about its meaning. The uniqueness of its orbit is not only in the curve itself, but in the story it tells, of exile, of wandering, of survival across unimaginable distances. This uniqueness is also a challenge, because 3I/Atlas will not return, our instruments must work harder. Every observation counts. The James Webb Space Telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, ground-based observatories. Each one points toward this traveler, capturing spectra of its gases, images of its coma, measurements of its brightness. Scientists scramble to compare notes, to analyze what is seen before the comet fades. In this sense, 3I/Atlas is not just a comet, it is a test of our readiness as a civilization. Are we prepared to catch these fleeting messengers? Do we have the technology, the coordination, the wisdom to learn from them before they vanish? Each one is a rehearsal for the future, a reminder that the universe offers us opportunities, but never guarantees. The hyperbolic orbit of 3I/Atlas also carries symbolism for us as people. It is a path of freedom, of non-belonging, of movement without return. There is something almost romantic in the idea of a traveler who never stays, who visits briefly and continues onward. It reminds us of the wanderers in human history, explorers, nomads, pioneers, who left home never to return, but whose brief presence in distant lands changed those they encountered. In many ways, 3I/Atlas is like those explorers. It will not settle in our solar system, but it will leave us with knowledge, with inspiration, with questions that linger long after it is gone. Sometimes the most powerful influence comes not from those who stay, but from those who pass through and move on. And what of its future path? Once it leaves the sun behind, 3I/Atlas will wander again into the galactic night. It will drift among the stars, untouched, unseen, perhaps for millions of years more. Maybe it will pass another star system and be noticed by another civilization, if such civilizations exist. Maybe it will wander unseen forever until time itself erodes it. Or perhaps, long after humanity has advanced beyond its infancy, our descendants will send missions to intercept such objects, to rendezvous with them in deep space, to follow them into the interstellar ocean. In that sense, 3I/Atlas is not only a fleeting visitor, but also a foreshadowing of humanity's destiny. One day, we too may travel hyperbolic paths, leaving our sun behind, carrying with us the story of Earth to the stars. The uniqueness of its orbit, then, is a mirror for our own aspirations. Bound objects are predictable, safe, and familiar. Hyperbolic paths are daring, uncertain, and free. Perhaps that is why 3I/Atlas stirs something within us. It is not bound, and neither do we wish to be. As a species, we dream of leaving the cradle of Earth, of venturing beyond the solar system, of becoming interstellar travelers ourselves. This comet, in its brief arc, shows us the shape of that dream. It shows us that escape is possible, that journeys between the stars are not fantasy but reality, already written in the paths of ice and dust that cross our skies. So as 3I/Atlas swings past the sun, tracing its hyperbolic curve, let us not see it only as a comet. Let us see it as a teacher, reminding us of impermanence, of opportunity, of freedom, and of the vastness of the galaxy that surrounds us. Let us see it as a messenger of fleeting moments, urging us to pay attention, to be present, to marvel while we can. Let us see it as a symbol of what we might one day become, wanderers not bound by cycles, explorers who leave home and never look back. For in the end, its orbit is not only unique in mathematics, it is unique in meaning. It speaks to the nature of existence itself, that nothing is permanent, that everything moves, that all journeys continue, and that beauty often lies not in permanence but in passing. 3 I/Atlas will come and go. Its hyperbolic orbit ensures that, but the impression it leaves, the lessons it gives, and the wonder it inspires will remain with us long after its light has faded from the sky. When scientists first turned their instruments toward 3 I/Atlas, they were not only chasing the beauty of a glowing visitor, but also searching for answers hidden within its icy heart. Every comet is a messenger from the past, a frozen fragment of the early conditions that gave birth to planets and stars. But 3 I/Atlas is more than that. It is not a relic of our own solar system's childhood. It is a relic of another star's infancy, a piece of alien history drifting across the galaxy. That is why astronomers call it a scientific treasure. It carries with it a record of conditions we could never otherwise touch, a record of chemistry and physics that belong not to us but to somewhere else, a place we may never reach. In its gases and ices, in its dust and colors, lies the fingerprint of another world's beginning. When sunlight warms a comet, frozen materials deep inside begin to vaporize. This vapor creates a coma, a glowing halo of gas, and sometimes a tail that stretches for millions of kilometers. That coma is like an open book for astronomers. By splitting its light into spectra, they can read the lines of different molecules, each one a signature of a chemical ingredient. In this way, comets tell their stories through light, and when the first spectra of 3 I/Atlas arrived, scientists immediately noticed something unusual. Its coma was rich in carbon dioxide, far richer than many comets we know in our solar system. To the untrained ear, that may sound like a minor detail, but to astronomers it was like hearing a new dialect of a familiar language. It told them that this comet did not form under the same rules as our comets. It suggested a different balance of temperatures, a different history of ices, a different recipe for planetary building blocks. Why does carbon dioxide matter? In our solar system, water ice is the most common volatile in comets, followed by carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and other compounds in smaller amounts. The exact balance of these ingredients tells us where in the protoplanetary disk, the swirling cloud of dust and gas that surrounded the newborn sun, a comet formed. Closer to the sun, water dominates because only water ice can survive there. Farther away, in colder regions, more exotic ices like CO and CO can freeze. So when we see a comet rich in carbon dioxide, it suggests it was born in a very cold environment far from its star. If that is true for 3 I/Atlas, then it means its home system produced conditions colder, richer in CO than what we usually find here. That one discovery alone opens a doorway into understanding how diverse planetary nurseries across the galaxy might be. But the treasure of 3 I/Atlas is not just in its carbon dioxide. Every detail matters: the size of its nucleus, the dust it sheds, the way its color shifts as it approaches the sun. All of these are data points that tell us about its past. Already, astronomers have reported that 3 I/Atlas has changed in color since its discovery, becoming more solar, like in tone. That shift suggests that as its surface warms, fresh materials are being exposed, materials that may never have been heated before. In other words, we are watching an untouched alien surface react to sunlight for the first time in millions of years. To scientists, that is like watching history being written in real time. It is a chance to see how pristine interstellar ices behave when they encounter a new star. The James Webb Space Telescope has been a powerful ally in this study. With its sensitive infrared vision, it can detect molecules invisible to ordinary telescopes. Through Webb's eyes, scientists have confirmed the presence of CO, water, and carbon monoxide, as well as subtle fingerprints of dust and organics. Each of these detections adds a new layer to the picture. Taken together, they form a chemical profile unlike any solar system comet we have studied. That difference is exactly what makes 3 I/Atlas a treasure. Imagine having only tasted fruit from your own orchard your entire life, and then suddenly being handed a fruit from a faraway land. The flavor is unfamiliar, the texture surprising, the sweetness or bitterness revealing. In that moment, you learn not only about the fruit itself, but about the soil, the climate, the conditions of the land it came from. That is what 3I/Atlas offers us, a taste of another world's soil, another world's climate, another world's conditions, but beyond chemistry, there is also the mystery of its survival. For millions of years, 3I/Atlas drifted in the icy dark of interstellar space. Cosmic rays bombarded it, collisions with other tiny particles chipped at its surface, temperatures dropped to nearly absolute zero, yet inside, it kept its secrets intact. That endurance makes it even more valuable. It means the ingredients we observe today are not contaminated by long exposure to stars, not eroded by countless passages near a sun. They are ancient, preserved, and pure. For scientists who study the birth of planets, this is like finding a fossil that has never been weathered, a perfectly preserved time capsule from an era otherwise unreachable. It allows them to test theories about how common certain molecules are across the galaxy, and how different the conditions of planet formation might be elsewhere. Some have even suggested that objects like 3I/Atlas may help answer bigger questions. How common are the ingredients of life? Carbon dioxide, water, carbon monoxide, organic compounds. These are the very building blocks of biology. If interstellar comets carry them, it suggests that the seeds of life are not unique to our solar system, but scattered throughout the galaxy. Imagine what that means: billions of star systems, each with their own comets, each ejecting some into interstellar space, each carrying with them ices and dust rich in the chemistry of life. The galaxy becomes not just a sea of stars, but a sea of seeds drifting endlessly, occasionally crossing paths with worlds like ours. To think that 3I/Atlas might be one such seed, passing silently by Earth, is to realize that life may not be a rare miracle, but a natural outcome of cosmic chemistry repeated across countless systems. Of course, with each answer, new questions arise. Why is its CO so abundant compared to water? What does that say about the temperature and density of its home system's disk? Could it have formed around a star very different from the Sun? A cooler red dwarf, perhaps, where conditions favored different ices. Or maybe it formed in a region of its system so far from the star that carbon dioxide could freeze in bulk, creating a composition unusual to our eyes. Each hypothesis paints a different picture of its birthplace, and though we may never know exactly where it came from, every observation sharpens the possibilities, narrowing down the kinds of systems that could produce such an object. That process itself is priceless. It is how science works, gathering clues, piecing together fragments, building a picture of something invisible from the traces it leaves behind. In this sense, 3I/Atlas is not just a comet, it is a laboratory. It allows us to test theories about planetary formation, chemical diversity, and interstellar exchange. It shows us that our solar system is not the template for all others, but just one variation in a vast galactic orchestra. And perhaps that is its greatest treasure, the humility it brings. For centuries, humans thought Earth was the center of everything. Then we learned the sun was the center of our system. Then we learned the sun was just one star among billions. And now, comets like 3I/Atlas remind us that even the chemistry we take for granted may not be universal. That the recipes for building planets, for creating oceans, for seeding life, may vary across the galaxy. And in that variety lies beauty. In that variety lies the possibility that life may emerge in forms and places we cannot yet imagine. For the public, these chemical details may seem dry, but when translated into story, they come alive. Imagine telling a child that in the night sky tonight, a piece of another star system is glowing, that its gases are not the same as our comet's gases, that it carries a taste of alien worlds. Suddenly, the night sky becomes not just familiar, but foreign and exciting. Suddenly, the universe feels bigger, richer, more mysterious. That is the true power of science, not only to collect data but to inspire awe, to take a detail like CO ratio and turn it into a story about other stars, other worlds, and the possibility of life elsewhere. 3I/Atlas will leave us soon, but the data gathered will remain for generations. Scientists will pore over its spectra, debate its chemistry, refine their models, and publish papers that will ripple through astronomy for decades. But beyond the journals and conferences, its legacy will be deeper. It will remind us that treasures are not always measured in gold or jewels. Some treasures are made of ice and dust, drifting silently between stars. Some treasures pass only once, but leave behind riches of knowledge that change us forever. That is why 3I/Atlas is more than a comet. It is a scientific treasure chest, cracked open briefly by the warmth of our sun, spilling out clues to a world beyond our reach. We cannot keep it, we cannot touch it, but we can learn from it, and in learning we enrich not only our science but our sense of belonging in the universe. For every molecule we measure, every spectrum we analyze, every question we ask about 3I/Atlas, we are reminded of a simple truth. We are part of a galaxy filled with wonders, and sometimes, if we are watching carefully, those wonders come to visit us. When we look up at the night sky, the stars appear as tiny, steady points of light. They seem fixed and eternal, yet we know that each one is a burning sun, vast beyond imagination, surrounded by planets, moons, dust, and comets of its own. Most of those systems are so far away that they might as well be painted on a wall, unreachable, silent, distant beyond measure, and yet, once in a rare while, one of their fragments finds its way to us. That is what makes 3I/Atlas so extraordinary. It is not a comet born of our sun, not a relic of our solar system's formation. It is a messenger from another star. It carries within it the memory of a distant nursery where planets formed and where forces we can only guess at shaped its path. It is a traveler, a witness, and a message all in one. To call it an interstellar messenger is not just poetic, it is factual. For millions of years, perhaps billions, it has wandered the empty spaces between stars, untouched by the warmth of any sun, untouched by the gravity of any planet. Alone in the dark, it carried on its journey, waiting for the day when chance, destiny, or cosmic design would bring it into the reach of another civilization's gaze. That day has come, and we are the fortunate recipients of its message. Through the faint light it reflects, through the gases it releases, through the trail it leaves as it passes, it whispers to us of its home, a place we may never see with our eyes but can glimpse through its essence. Think about what that means. For all of human history, we have studied comets as members of our family, fragments of the same story that gave rise to Earth. Each one taught us something about ourselves. But now, with objects like 3I/Atlas, we study something foreign. We hold in our telescopes an emissary from another story, another chapter of the galaxy's unfolding. It is as though the universe has sent us a letter sealed in ice, written in the language of chemistry and physics, signed not by a single hand but by the forces of a distant sun. When astronomers first realized that 3I/Atlas was not bound to the sun, they understood the scale of what they were seeing. Its orbit is hyperbolic, meaning it is not simply swinging around our star but passing through, never to return. That orbit is its calling card, proof that it comes from far beyond our system. And when the details of its composition began to emerge, the truth became clear. This was not just a wanderer, but a messenger bearing news from elsewhere. In its differences from our comets, it tells us that our solar system is not the only blueprint. In its similarities, it tells us that the building blocks of creation are shared across the galaxy. Both lessons are profound. Both lessons reshape how we think of ourselves in the cosmic scheme. To the poet, 3I/Atlas might be seen as a traveler from a distant land, carrying gifts of knowledge. To the scientist, it is data-rich, a living laboratory of interstellar chemistry. But to the human spirit, it is something deeper still, a reminder that we are not isolated, that across the void there are other systems producing their own wonders, their own comets, their own worlds. The galaxy is not silent, it is alive with stories, and once in a while, one of those stories drifts across the stars and arrives at our doorstep. What message does 3I/Atlas bring? Perhaps it is this, that we are part of something vast. That the processes shaping our world are not unique, but woven into a galactic tapestry. That the icy fragments of a foreign star can find their way to us, just as perhaps fragments of our own system might one day drift into another civilization's sky. In that way, 3I/Atlas is not just a scientific object, but a symbol of connection. It binds us to the unknown, makes us kin with the distant, reminds us that the galaxy is not empty but shared, and what a powerful reminder that is. Humanity often feels small, caught up in our troubles, our conflicts, our fleeting concerns. But when we look at an interstellar comet, we see scale, we see time, we see perspective. Here is an object that has traveled for perhaps millions of years, unbothered by our wars, unaffected by our politics, indifferent to our divisions. And yet, in the moment we discover it, it speaks to all of us equally. No nation owns it, no person can claim it, it belongs to no one and yet to everyone. Its message is universal: you are not alone, you are part of a galaxy in motion, part of a cosmic family larger than you can imagine. Some might ask, why does that matter? Why should we care that a comet from another system passes briefly through our skies? The answer lies in perspective. To know that fragments from other stars can reach us is to know that we are connected to the broader galaxy in a tangible way. To know that those fragments carry chemistry, ices, and dust is to see that the ingredients for life are not locked in one place but scattered widely. To realize that such comets may pass through countless star systems in their journeys is to imagine a galactic web of exchange, a network of wandering messengers carrying seeds of possibility wherever they go. That realization changes how we see life, how we see creation, how we see destiny. It expands our vision, pulls us out of smallness, and invites us to dream bigger. For the astronomer at the telescope, 3I/Atlas is a rare data set. For the philosopher, it is a reminder of the unity of existence. For the dreamer, it is a spark of hope that we are part of a grander story, and for all of us, it is an invitation to humility. Because if fragments from distant systems can reach us, if alien comets can shine in our skies, then who are we to think ourselves alone? Who are we to think the galaxy is cold and indifferent? Instead, perhaps it is rich, filled with countless homes, countless nurseries, countless processes echoing the same music of creation. In this sense, 3I/Atlas does not merely pass us by, it speaks, it tells us to pay attention. It reminds us that the stars we see each night are not just points of light, but places with their own stories. Somewhere out there, a star was born, planets gathered, and in the icy reaches, a comet formed. By fate or chance, it was ejected, set adrift into interstellar space, and after a journey of unimaginable length, it arrived here in our skies at this moment in our history. Is that not extraordinary? Is that not a message worth hearing? If we listen closely, we can hear in its passage the voice of the universe saying, "You are part of me." We can hear the echo of other worlds, other suns, other possibilities. We can see that the galaxy is not barren but alive, and that in its vastness, connections exist even when we cannot see them. That is the power of 3I/Atlas as an interstellar messenger. Not only does it teach us scientifically, but it uplifts us spiritually. Not only does it reveal chemistry, but it reveals belonging. As it moves away from us, fading into the deep once more, we are left with the memory of its glow and the data gathered by our instruments. But more than that, we are left with its message. We are reminded that our story is not confined to Earth, nor even to the solar system. Our story is galactic. Our connections extend across the stars. And if comets can travel between systems, carrying their messages, then who knows what other exchanges await us in the future? Perhaps someday, just as we now study 3I/Atlas, another civilization will study a comet born of our own sun, drifting through their skies, carrying a piece of our home to them. Perhaps they will wonder, as we do now, about the message it brings. And in that shared wonder, across the gulf of space and time, humanity and alien life may already be connected. So let us not see 3I/Atlas as merely a curiosity. Let us see it for what it truly is, a messenger. A traveler bearing a reminder that we are part of a greater whole, that our solar system is not alone, that we are woven into a cosmic design too vast for us to yet understand, and in that design we are never truly isolated. We are participants in a story billions of years old, written not in words but in stars, comets, and journeys like that of 3I/Atlas. That is the gift it brings, that is the message it carries, and that is why, long after it is gone, its voice will still echo in our hearts. When we first hear about comets, we imagine them as eternal wanderers, massive icy bodies streaking across the sky, ancient and indestructible. But the truth is far more fragile. Comets are delicate things held together not by strength, but by the quiet grip of frozen ices. They are like cosmic snowballs drifting in the blackness of space. They look strong, they look eternal, but they are vulnerable to light, to heat, to tidal forces, to the very stars they pass by. And 3I/Atlas reminds us of this truth more than most. For even as it dazzles astronomers with its alien chemistry and interstellar origin, it also carries the possibility of breaking apart, of disintegrating before our eyes. That fragility is not a flaw. It is part of what makes comets so breathtaking. Their beauty is born from their impermanence. When sunlight warms them, ices vaporize, dust streams out, tails unfurl, and they glow like lanterns in the sky. But that very process also tears them apart. Cracks form, pieces break away, entire nuclei sometimes crumble into dust. In a single moment, something that traveled for millions of years can vanish in a puff of light. This is the paradox of comets. They are both timeless and fleeting, both ancient and fragile. They remind us of life itself. Long histories compressed into fragile bodies capable of being undone in an instant. 3I/Atlas, being interstellar, carries that lesson in an even deeper way. Here is a comet that has survived the void between stars, endured cosmic rays, drifted through unimaginable distances. It reached our solar system intact, only to face the warmth of a new sun, the pull of alien gravity, and the forces that could shatter it. If it breaks apart, it will be a kind of cosmic irony that an object could survive eons of solitude only to meet its end in the brief moment we discovered it. But if that happens, it will not be tragedy alone. It will also be beauty, the kind of fleeting beauty that sears itself into memory, because a disintegrating comet does not vanish quietly. It bursts, it glows, it sheds its dust in streams that paint the sky. Its death is a spectacle, a reminder that even endings can be radiant. This fragility connects comets to human hearts. We too are fragile. We too face the paradox of longevity and impermanence. We build civilizations. We carry dreams for generations. Yet each life is brief, each moment delicate. When we look at 3I/Atlas, we are not just watching ice and dust. We are seeing a mirror of ourselves. We are reminded that fragility is not weakness but a kind of beauty, that the value of something is not in how long it lasts but in how deeply it touches us while it is here. A comet may burn bright for only weeks, then vanish, but in those weeks it can inspire awe that lasts for centuries. Scientists study comets knowing full well they may crumble. They rush to gather spectra, images, and data before the inevitable. This urgency is part of the wonder. When telescopes point toward 3I/Atlas, astronomers understand that they are not promised tomorrow. They are racing against time, working to capture as much as possible before fragility takes its toll. And in that urgency, there is also reverence. Reverence for the gift of witnessing something so fleeting. Reverence for the knowledge that the universe does not owe us permanence. Reverence for the reality that the most delicate things are often the most unforgettable. Imagine standing beneath the night sky as 3I/Atlas shines faintly. You know it has traveled farther than your mind can imagine. You know it may break apart tomorrow, or next week, or next month, and so you look at it differently. You do not take it for granted, you savor it. You understand that this is not just a scientific event, but a moment of grace. That is what fragility does. It teaches us to treasure the present. It reminds us not to wait, not to assume, but to see the wonder now, while it is here. History is filled with comets that disintegrated. Astronomers of past centuries wrote about sudden disappearances, comets that brightened gloriously only to fade into nothing. Each time there was disappointment, yes, but also awe. Because those breakups left behind dust trails that Earth would later pass through, creating meteor showers, turning loss into beauty. The fragility of comets does not end their story, it transforms it. Pieces scattered into space may continue to shine as streaks of light in other skies for other generations. So too with 3I/Atlas. If it crumbles, its fragments will still carry its story, still mark the heavens, still whisper of the system it came from. This is why fragility and wonder are inseparable. We cannot marvel at comets without also accepting their impermanence. We cannot enjoy their light without recognizing that it comes at the cost of their survival. And in that balance lies one of the deepest lessons the universe gives us. Beauty is not always in what lasts forever. Sometimes beauty is in what comes once and never again. Sometimes beauty is in the fragile, the fleeting, the unrepeatable. 3. I/Atlas embodies this truth. It may not survive, it may not return, but while it is here, it fills our hearts and our instruments with light, and that is enough. On a human level, this message is profound. We spend so much of our lives fearing loss, fearing fragility, wishing for permanence. But comets teach us that fragility is part of the design, not a flaw in it. The fact that something can be broken makes it more precious, not less. The fact that a comet may crumble makes every observation more valuable. The fact that a life is short makes every moment more meaningful. Fragility forces us to pay attention. It forces us to love more deeply. It forces us to stand in awe of the present. When we watch 3I/Atlas, then we are not only observing a cosmic object, we are practicing gratitude. Gratitude for the fact that we are alive in the rare moment when such a visitor passes by. Gratitude that we have the tools to see it, the minds to study it, the hearts to appreciate it. Gratitude for the fact that the universe gives us gifts, not by lasting forever, but by appearing just long enough to change us. The comet's fragility is not a curse, it is its blessing, because in fragility lies intensity, in fragility lies wonder. There will come a night when 3I/Atlas is no longer visible. It will fade, perhaps because it has drifted too far, perhaps because it has shattered into pieces too small to see. But what will remain is the memory of a messenger from another star, the memory of a fragile beauty that passed us by, the memory of how it made us feel, and that memory will last far longer than the comet itself. Just as ancient cultures remembered Halley's Comet, just as astronomers still speak of Shoemaker, Levy 9 breaking into fragments before crashing into Jupiter, so too will we speak of 3I/Atlas. Its fragility ensures that it cannot be forgotten. So let us not mourn its delicacy, but celebrate it. Let us see in its fragility the truth that the most delicate things often carry the greatest wonder. Let us embrace the fleeting as precious, the impermanent as profound. And let us recognize in 3I/Atlas not only a scientific discovery but a cosmic reminder that beauty by its very nature is fragile, and that this is what makes it shine so brightly in our hearts. In the end, whether 3I/Atlas survives or shatters, its legacy will be the same. It will have touched us with wonder, it will have reminded us of fragility, and it will have shown us, once again, that the universe is not just about permanence, but about moments. Moments of grace, moments of awe, moments that teach us to treasure what we are given. 3I/Atlas is fragile, it is fleeting, and it is beautiful beyond words. That is the wonder it leaves behind. Every so often, something happens that reminds us why we look up at the night sky. For most people, life unfolds here on Earth, surrounded by the familiar rhythms of day and night, work and rest, struggle and triumph. The stars above often feel distant, decorative, a quiet backdrop to our human story. But when a comet like 3I/Atlas drifts into our awareness, when we learn that it has come not from our own solar system, but from the far reaches of another star, everything changes. Suddenly, the night sky is no longer just scenery. It becomes alive, vibrant, filled with possibilities. Suddenly, we are reminded that the universe is not static, but full of motion, exchange, and discovery. And in that reminder, we are inspired to keep looking, to keep searching, to keep imagining what else may arrive from the stars. 3I/Atlas is not just a scientific curiosity. It is a symbol of wonder. Its presence tells us that the galaxy is not a closed system of separate islands, but a network of connections. Objects travel between stars. Journeys begin in one system and end in another. Fragments of distant worlds can pass close enough for us to study. That reality is breathtaking. It breaks the illusion of isolation and fills us with the urge to keep exploring. Because if comets can cross such impossible distances, then surely other marvels can too. If 3I/Atlas can reach us, then perhaps one day we will reach the stars it came from. Inspiration comes from possibility, and 3I/Atlas brims with it. Scientists look at its unusual chemistry and imagine what its home system must be like. Was it born in the far frozen edges of a protoplanetary disk around a red dwarf? Did it form in a cluster where stars were packed close together, allowing gravitational encounters to fling it into interstellar space? Did it pass by other stars before ours, carrying whispers of their gravity in its path? Every question it raises is an invitation to explore. Every mystery it presents is a challenge to dig deeper, and in that sense, its greatest gift is not only what it tells us, but what it makes us want to know. Children who hear about it may look at the night sky differently. Adults may pause in their routines and imagine the scale of a journey across light years. Astronomers may feel renewed urgency to prepare for the next interstellar visitor, to develop better instruments, faster responses, and more ambitious missions. The very existence of 3I/Atlas pushes us forward. It says there will be more, there will be other messengers, there will be other chances, but only if we are watching, only if we are ready, only if we keep our eyes lifted. Already, dreams have begun to grow around the idea of sending spacecraft to intercept future interstellar objects. Missions have been proposed, blueprints sketched, technologies imagined. The spark behind those dreams is fueled by visitors like 3I/Atlas. If one interstellar comet can pass so close, then surely there will be more, perhaps bigger, perhaps brighter, perhaps carrying even stranger chemistry. What might we learn if we could fly alongside one, sample its dust, taste its ices? What might we discover about the galaxy's diversity if we could bring a piece of another system back to Earth? These are not idle fantasies, they are the next steps in human exploration made urgent by the reality of what we have already seen. But inspiration does not belong to scientists alone, it belongs to all of us. For the farmer under the open sky, for the city dweller catching a rare glimpse of stars between buildings, for the child lying on the grass asking what else might be out there, 3I/Atlas is a gift. It is a reminder that wonder is not only in textbooks but above our heads, in the very fabric of the universe. It is an invitation to imagine what else lies beyond. Planets with skies of green, suns that burn cooler than ours, civilizations asking the same questions we ask. Inspiration thrives on possibility, and the universe is filled with it. When we think of exploration, we often picture rockets, astronauts, and distant missions, but exploration begins in the heart. It begins when something stirs our imagination enough to make us ask, what if? 3I/Atlas does that. It makes us ask, what if there are countless comets like this, carrying the ingredients of life across the galaxy? It makes us wonder, what if someday we meet another civilization studying a comet from our own system? It makes us dream, what if the seeds of life on Earth were delivered by something just like this long ago? These questions do not have immediate answers, but they awaken a spirit that has carried humanity forward from the beginning. That spirit is curiosity. That spirit is exploration. That spirit is what drives us to build telescopes, launch spacecraft, and reach beyond what we know. The universe has a way of humbling us and elevating us at the same time. When we learn about 3I/Atlas, we feel small because we see how vast the galaxy truly is. Yet we also feel large because we realize we are capable of understanding it, of detecting a fragment from another star, of reading its chemistry, of unraveling its story. This balance of humility and empowerment is the heart of inspiration. It tells us that though we are small, we are not powerless. Though we are fragile, we are capable of greatness, and though the stars are far, they are not beyond our reach forever. We live in a time when technology allows us to see further than ever before, to measure details with precision unimagined by past generations. But technology alone is not enough. We need the fire of imagination to push us forward. We need moments like 3I/Atlas to remind us why exploration matters, because exploration is not only about knowledge, it is about identity. It is about understanding who we are, where we come from, and where we are going. A visitor from another star speaks to all three of those questions at once. It reminds us that we are creatures of the cosmos, born of stardust, participants in a galactic story, and knowing that gives our lives new depth and new meaning. Perhaps most importantly, inspiration is contagious. One astronomer's excitement can inspire a generation of students. One discovery can ripple through cultures, art, and philosophy. One comet can change how humanity thinks of itself. 3 I/Atlas may be fleeting, but the inspiration it leaves behind can last forever. Long after it has faded into the distance, children may still be dreaming of the stars because of the stories told about it. Long after the data is archived, the vision of a messenger from another system may still drive humanity to reach further. That is the true legacy of such an object, not only the science, but the spark it ignites. Imagine a future where humanity does venture out into the galaxy, where our descendants travel to other stars. When they look back on their history, they may remember not only the great missions and the powerful technologies, but also the moments of inspiration that started it all. They may speak of 3 I/Atlas as one of the early signs that the galaxy was alive with exchange, that interstellar travel was not only for the distant future, but already happening in its own way, through the drift of comets. They may see it as a symbol of how we first realized that our story was bigger than we thought. Inspiration is the bridge between what is and what could be. It turns curiosity into action, questions into research, dreams into missions. 3 I/Atlas is one such bridge. It takes us from the knowledge that the stars are far to the belief that we can still touch them. It takes us from the simple observation of light in a telescope to the vast idea that we are part of a connected galaxy. It takes us from today into tomorrow, and if we carry its inspiration with us, there is no telling what we may achieve, so let us keep watching the skies. Let us keep building telescopes, launching spacecraft, writing stories, and dreaming dreams. Let us not treat the universe as background, but as a frontier. Let us see in 3 I/Atlas not just a visitor, but a call to action, a call to wonder, a call to curiosity, a call to courage. For every comet that passes, every star that shines, every galaxy we glimpse is a reminder there is more out there, more, always waiting, always inviting us forward. And so, as 3 I/Atlas fades into the distance, let us not see it as the end, but as the beginning. The beginning of new dreams, new questions, new explorations. The beginning of a future where humanity does not just look at the stars, but travels among them. The beginning of a story where the inspiration of a fragile comet becomes the seed of a civilization's destiny. For in the end, the greatest message of 3 I/Atlas is not just about where it came from, but about where we can go, and that message, if we choose to hear it, can change everything.